Welcome, friends, to the very heart of Azeroth, a world where stories are written not by pen, but by grand adventures. Get ready for a tale of magic, friendship, and unexpected discoveries. Our heroine is the elegant elf Aubrey, with eyes the color of the sea and hair like forest leaves. She is graceful yet incredibly strong. Her best friend is Gruula, the orc. Gruula is the embodiment of strength and cheerfulness, her green skin glowing in the sun, a mischievous smile always on her face. Today, they are off on a simple fishing trip that will change their lives forever. The air was fresh and cool, filled with the scents of damp earth, pine needles and wildflowers. The rays of the morning sun filtered through the dense canopy, creating intricate patterns on the path. Aubrey and Gruula walked side by side, their steps light and carefree. Aubrey, as always, walked barefoot, feeling the soft moss and cool leaves under her delicate feet. It was her way of connecting with nature, of feeling every blade of grass and root. Her slender calves flexed gracefully with each step, catching the light. Gruula, on the other hand, preferred sturdy leather boots, but her stride was as confident as Mother Nature herself. Their journey was filled with carefree laughter and light flirtation. Gruula, noticing Aubrey's thoughtful expression, playfully nudged her with her elbow. "Thinking about something, Aubrey? Or someone?" she purred, her voice deep and warm. Aubrey, caught off guard, smiled shyly. "What do you mean?" she asked, not looking up. Gruula laughed. "Oh, my dear, don't pretend. Your eyes always light up when you see a tall, handsome figure with long hair and pointy ears. I suppose you prefer elves, huh?" Aubrey blushed, and Gruula winked. "Well, there's nothing wrong with that," the orc continued, leaning in and lowering her voice. "But remember, sometimes the most interesting adventures begin where you least expect them." Gruula's words made Aubrey's heart beat faster. She felt a warmth not just in her cheeks, but in her chest, as she glanced at Gruula. Aubrey caught herself thinking that Gruula's gaze, full of mischief and tenderness, was the most intriguing she had ever seen. Aubrey was about to reply when their conversation was interrupted by a loud, raspy voice that echoed through the forest. "Hey, is that Aubrey and Gruula?" Aubrey and Gruula started in surprise, but their faces instantly lit up. They turned and saw their old friend, Torvin, the gnome, emerging from behind a massive oak. He was short but muscular, with a thick red beard and mischievous eyes. He was wearing a worn leather vest and a fancy hat with feathers that he claimed to have won from a goblin in a card game. Torvin was known for his incredible stories and his love for inventing things, and the girls knew that every meeting with him was a new adventure. Without a moment's hesitation, Aubrey and Gruula rushed toward Torvin. They enveloped him in a powerful but gentle bear hug. Torvin, used to such displays of affection, laughed, embracing both girls with his strong, short arms. "I thought you'd forgotten about me," he growled, his beard tickling their cheeks. "How could we forget you, Torvin?" Aubrey exclaimed, her heart filled with joy. "Yeah, you've always been the loudest one in the tavern," Gruula added, laughing. They stood like that for a few seconds, savoring the moment, before Torvin finally pulled back to look at them. "Where are you two lovely ladies headed?" the gnome asked, rubbing his hands together. "Fishing," the girls said in unison. "Well, you're in luck," Torvin grinned, showing off a few gold teeth. "My boat is moored just down the river. I was about to test it out. Care to join me? It's got a steam engine I built myself, you know." Aubrey and Gruula's eyes lit up. The idea of sailing down the river on Torvin's boat was much more interesting than just fishing from the bank. "Of course we will," Aubrey exclaimed. "That would be amazing." "Then let's go." Torvin gestured toward the river. "I've got some bait I made myself. They say it can even lure a water elemental." They continued on their way, feeling the joy of reuniting with their friend and the excitement of a new adventure filling their hearts. Torvin's boat was a marvel of engineering. It was small but incredibly sturdy, made of polished oak and reinforced with bronze plates. Torvin proudly started his steam engine, which let out a hiss, and the boat glided smoothly onto the river. The water was crystal clear, with colourful stones and corals visible at the bottom. Glowing moths fluttered above the surface, and fish of all colours of the rainbow, looking as if they were lit from within, darted beneath them. Aubrey sat on the bow of the boat, dangling her feet in the water. She loved how the cool currents flowed around her delicate feet, and how the warm sun warmed her calves. It was so peaceful. Grula sat beside her, watching the fleeting shadows in the water. They cast their lines, and the boat slowly drifted with the current. Time passed, and there were no bites. The sun was high in the sky, its rays penetrating the tree canopy, warming their faces. Aubrey began to lose hope, sighing quietly. "Well, girls, it seems Torvin was lying when he said his bait could lure a water elemental." Grula laughed. "Don't be so quick, Grula," Torvin said, scowling at the bobbers as they swayed on the water, as if taunting them. "You need patience. There's always something waiting for you down there." Suddenly, the bobber on Aubrey's fishing rod jerked violently and went under. "I've got one!" she cried, her eyes wide with excitement. She grabbed the rod, but the pull was so strong she could barely hold on. "Oh gods! I think I caught something big!" Aubrey yelled, straining with all her might. Her body tensed, every muscle in her arms and legs bulging as she pulled the rod toward her. But on the other end of the line, something was fighting back with incredible strength. Torvin and Grula got ready to help, but it was too late. An unexpected, powerful yank from the unknown creature pulled the rod from Aubrey's hands, and she lost her footing, falling into the water and dragging Grula, who was trying to hold her down with her. In an instant, both girls were in the water, drenched and stunning. Their hair was plastered to their faces, and their clothes were soaked and nearly transparent. They surfaced, gasping with laughter. Torvin, sitting in the boat, his eyes wide with shock. "I told you," he began. But his words were drowned out by the cheerful laughter of Aubrey and Grula, who, wet and happy, stood waist-deep in the water, gazing at each other with delight. Soaked and determined, the girls got back into the boat. Their clothes clung to their bodies, highlighting every curve. They unanimously decided to pull whatever was underwater out, no matter what. Aubrey took the fishing rod back. This time she held it firmly, knowing she couldn't do it alone. Torvin, eager to help, came up behind her. He gently but firmly grabbed Aubrey's waist, so she wouldn't lose her balance. She felt the warmth of his hands through the wet fabric, felt his reliable support. Behind Torvin stood Grula, placing her hands on the gnome's shoulders. Their bodies worked in unison, like a single mechanism, filled with a common goal. They pulled the line, straining with all their might. Their muscles flexed under their wet clothes, and their faces were full of concentration. With each tug, the rod bent more, and finally, something began to slowly emerge from the water. First, they saw a long, shimmering tail, sparkling with shades of turquoise and emerald. Then came an elegant body, and finally, a face. It wasn't a fish, but a mermaid. She was incredibly beautiful, with long hair like seaweed and eyes as big as the ocean. She looked at them with surprise and a little fear, but there was no malice in her gaze. Torvin helped the mermaid into the boat. Aubrey and Grula, still wet and astonished, couldn't take their eyes off her. The mermaid introduced herself. Her name was Lyra. It turned out she was simply looking for something shiny in the river, and her curiosity led to this unexpected meeting. Aubrey felt her heart fill with something new, something like the wonder of a fairy tale come true. The group quickly became friends. The girls laughed as they told her how they fell into the water, and Torvin, blushing, explained how he tried to help. In the end, they invited Lyra to spend the evening around the campfire with them, and she gladly accepted. The evening by the river was filled with comfort and magic. They built a fire, and its warmth dried their clothes, releasing steam. Stars lit up the dark sky, and everything around them seemed magical. Lyra turned out to be not only beautiful but also kind. She sang, and her voice was like the lapping of waves, the whisper of the wind in the reeds. Her singing was so enchanting that even Torvin, who was usually restless, sat quietly and listened, never taking his eyes off her. It was clear the gnome was smitten. He looked at her with such admiration that his eyes glowed in the dark. He asked her questions about the underwater world, about her family, and Lyra, smiling, answered. Each time she laughed, Torvin blushed, and his beard quivered slightly. Aubrey and Grula sat nearby, tossing branches into the fire. They watched Torvin and Lyra, smiling at each other. They were happy for their friend, but something else seemed to linger between them. Grula gently took Aubrey's hand. "Well, was I right? Our adventure started in a way we never expected," Grula whispered, her voice low and velvety. Aubrey looked at her, and the flames were reflected in her eyes. She saw in Grula's gaze not just mischief, but also a tenderness she had never noticed before. She squeezed Grula's hand in return, and for a moment it seemed like they were the only two left in this vast world. When the night grew deep and tiredness took over, Torvin and Lyra made themselves comfortable by the fire, continuing their sweet flirtation. Aubrey and Grula, understanding they needed to give their friends space, went to their tent. They quietly zipped it up, and the world outside their canvas walls ceased to exist. What happened inside remained a secret. Whispers, laughter, breathing that became quick and ragged. No one will ever know what they did in there. Perhaps it was just a long-awaited moment of privacy, or maybe it was the beginning of something new, a true, tender, and incredible love between an elf and an orc. The story has come to an end, but perhaps it is only the beginning of a new, more exciting adventure.